We're tackling a heavy topic on this edition of...
Yeah, it's the best five, worst five, know what I mean? Yeah, it's the best five, worst five Trek's ever seen.
There are no shortages of episodes across Star Trek dealing with ethics, and no shortage of outcomes either. I'll be judging these dilemmas based on general outcomes for all involved. At fifth worst, unbaking a cake. As Neelix and Tuvok bond on an away mission over their love of flowers, that bond gets closer than they bargained for. As they beam up with a botanical sample, their DNA and that flower mix into one. Tuvix, the character more likable than Tuvok and Neelix, is born. The ethical part of this comes in when Janeway decides against Tuvix's wishes to split them back into their individual parts. As infamously bad as this episode is, this isn't the most questionable thing in Star Trek, as Janeway is at least looking out for the integrity of a crew where she needs all hands. Number 4. General Order Gun. Told in the past tense during TNG's Too Short a Season, Admiral Mark Jameson's arms deal with opposing sides on Mordan 4 caused decades of war. As he's brought back in his twilight to resolve another hostage situation, he makes yet another questionable ethical decision to take a de-aging drug that ends up killing him. How is it that officers like this consistently make 5-star admiral, while by-the-book suck-ups like Kim can't get a promotion in nearly a decade? Number 3. Casual genocide. While the outcome of this entry did end peacefully, Will You Take My Hand is the only known time Starfleet brass considered killing all life on a planet to stop a war. While the Klingons wouldn't hesitate to do the same to Earth, it takes a disgraced officer with no rank to get admirals to change course, and put the Federation's ideals first. A wonderful show of Starfleet ideals in the end, but a plan that never should have been set in motion. Number 2. Turn a blind eye. Strange New Worlds nearly had the only perfect season in the Star Trek franchise, except for one episode that here at Botwat is one of the worst episodes of all time. This society in Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach that, for all intents, keeps a city floating by the advent of magic, just needing to sacrifice a child every once in a while. At the end, I was waiting for the classic Star Trek saves the little guy trope, and it doesn't come. There's a bunch of ways this could have ended and still conveyed the message that children suffer for society and we all turn a blind eye. Not only is this society that could ask the Federation for better solutions ethically reprehensible, but the general writing of this episode ruined the best season of live-action Trek to date. The worst ethical dilemma? Number 1. Honeypot. While nearly every captain in Trek has had a white whale to chase, Kirk had every reason and opportunity to not. In Obsession, we learn that a decade before, Kirk had been on a mission that killed the captain of the Farragut from a cloud that smells like honey. While Enterprise crew are killed in similar fashion 1,000 light-years away, Kirk feels the urge to get revenge for his former captain, which delays the delivery of perishable vaccines that may save millions of lives, and gets several more Enterprise crew members killed, all the while other bridge officers telling Kirk to call off his short-sighted quest. I can understand Kirk wanting to keep others in the galaxy from being this thing's next victim, but he had major priorities and orders that should have come first. And now for the more interesting ethical dilemmas in Trek. Number 5. White whale harpooned. While Kirk didn't have the best reasons to put his crew on the line for his personal white whale, Archer's season-long obsession with stopping the Xindi at all costs has billions of reasons for him to go off the rails and go after a peaceful ship to pirate the Illyrian's warp coil. It's done as tactfully as one can when being the outright pirates Enterprise experienced early in their exploration of the Expanse. While terrible for the ship now 3 years from home, sometimes the ends do justify the means. Number 4. Justifiable genocide. Another instance of past tense ethical dilemmas in Conscience of the King reveals perhaps the greatest ethical crisis ever laid out in Trek. Governor Kodos of Tarsus IV faced a fungus that wiped out most of the food supplies, and with 8,000 mouths to feed and resupply months away, He made a decision in the trolley paradox. While a lottery system may have been a better way to decide who lives and dies, the fact he was able to make a decision to save half, even at the expense of others, shows the good of the many should be upheld, even when the cost to achieve it is high. Number 3. Conservation ethics. When Voyager encounters an ocean floating in space, we learn that Paris has a nautical streak never before or since seen. When they discover the inhabitants are stripping the water of its oxygen and in danger of collapse, they tell the Soviet Union about the threat to the Aral Sea, only to have it fall on deaf ears. So Tom and the late great Willie Garson decide to steal the flyer and take matters into their own hands. Tom's month in the brig and demotion might have been even more tolerable had he succeeded in his eco-terrorism mission. Number 2. Tools of destruction. In Strange New Worlds' pilot of the same name, Pike decides to break the shit out of the old Prime Directive and insert himself into the discourse of a pre-warp society that's learning to build antimatter devices from seeing the Federation using it through telescopes. Chris thinks that's enough justification to not just try and convince them they're on a dangerous path, but lay out just how bad can get by showing how Earth handled their last on-world conflict. While this is questionable, Pike may have saved hundreds of millions of lives via this intervention. The most interesting ethical dilemma. Number 1. God Particle. The Omega Directive is one known scenario where the Prime Directive no longer applies, and with good reason, considering a single molecule can render subspace in a star system unusable for warp or FTL communication. So, despite sidelining a major energy project of a sovereign race, Janeway's decision may save billions of lives across half a quadrant, or at least make many lives more convenient. What's your favorite ethical dilemma in Star Trek?